Hello, today I welcome you to my old watches, and in this video I'm going to show you pretty much everything about this Pagani Design PD1661. Let's see what it's all about. So, another Rolex Submariner Homage, right? This time it comes from a brand that I actually wanted to review for a very long time, the Pagani Design. When it comes to these feature-packed Chinese timepieces, there are a lot of brands that do them, but some are better known than others. Before Pagani Design was pretty much on top, there were of course brands like Parnis, Cadison, Starking and such that were the most popular. But a little more than a year ago, Pagani Design started producing these great, very budget-friendly Rolex homages like the PD1639 and the PD1644, which were a great success, and now they are pretty much the most popular Chinese watch brand out there. You can see that from the sales, and I can totally see why they are so popular. The quality of the whole watch for the money that you pay is just great. I paid $74 on the 11/11 sale. Now the price is a little over $90, but my suggestion would be to wait for another sale, which happens very often, or use as many coupons as you can. It would be the best, of course, if you do both. There are, of course, negatives that I'll mention along the way, but in general, I really like this watch. Okay, let's take a look at it. So first, the box that it comes in is rather nice, which is a huge plus because you won't have to worry about buying a separate box if you want to give this watch to someone. This is always a great thing. But when you open it, you are greeted with some really unnecessary things. It's nice that they include them, but still they're out of place. Inside one of the bags, there is a keychain, some sort of a weird ruby thing, then some plastic pieces to wrap your headphones around, and a tool to take out your SIM card with. Then there's this green card thing, which I still don't know the use of. And lastly, there's this 24 karat gold sticker, and actually I did a research on this thing. Supposedly it absorbs and eliminates harmful electromagnetic waves from your electronic devices, like for example a phone, which is cool. Then there are the basic watch packaging things, the branded polishing cloth, a warranty card, an instructions manual, this little screwdriver to size your bracelet with, which by the way is completely useless because it's too wide and you cannot size the bracelet with it, and of course the watch itself. On the seller store it claims to be 40 millimeters in diameter, but I just couldn't get that measurement when I measured. I get 41 millimeters, and even when I measured just the bezel, it still came out to be 40.5 millimeters in diameter, so I'm not quite sure who is wrong here, but they do mention that there's a slight 1 millimeter error in the size. It's 12.5 millimeters thick, 47 millimeters lug to lug, has a lug width of 20 millimeters, tapers down to 16 millimeters, and then comes back to 18 millimeters at the clasp. It also weighs 142 grams when sized up for my 7-inch wrist. Not sized, it weighs 152 grams. I had to take out 3 links. By the way, this is how it looks on my wrist. As I've said in my initial impressions video, 40 millimeters seems to be the perfect size for my wrist. In this case, it's 41 millimeters and it doesn't take up my whole wrist, which I like. Now let's talk about the bracelet, and it is probably the weakest point of this watch. It has solid end links, screw-in links, a rather nice finishing with the middle links polished and the other parts brushed. The sides of the bracelet are polished too. Both the brushing and polishing could be better, especially the brushing, but for this price it's all good. The problems, however, come when you're trying to size the bracelet. The screws are quite easy to screw out, but screwing them back in when you've sized the bracelet might cause some problems. They don't go in that easy at first, and it took quite some time to adjust this bracelet. Then there is the struggle of opening the clasp. As you can see, there's a Pagani Design written on it. The opening of the clasp is really hard. You have to get your nail underneath it and then you have to pull. Maybe it needs some time to loosen up, but it's very unpleasant and my fingers hurt a bit. Also inside there are 3 micro adjusts, which you can adjust only from the inside, and that also can take quite some time. And lastly, they tried to do the diver's extension, but not really diver's extension. You can pull on it and make a little bit more space for your wrist. The pulling is also hard and I think it needs time to loosen up. So as you can see, the bracelet pretty much has more negatives than positives, so I'll let you decide what do you think of it. The overall finishes are very pleasing, although nothing new. Polished sides, brushing on top of the lugs, and then the polished middle links as well as the polished sides on the bracelet, and of course the rest of the bracelet is brushed as mentioned. I am personally more into brushed finishes just because the scratches are less visible, and this watch, as you can see, has a lot of polished surfaces, so it will scratch up pretty fast. But then the polishing makes the watch look a lot better and more expensive in my opinion. At the end of the day, for $70-ish, you're probably not gonna baby this watch too much. You get a screwed-in exhibition case back, revealing probably the most common and popular workhorse movement on these Chinese watches, the trusty Seiko NH35A, which hacks, hand winds, and also has 41-hour power serve. I now have a possibility to do micro shots, so I will show you the movement up close, and as you can see, there are a couple of small scratches on the rotor. Not a huge deal, I expected this, but it's still worth mentioning. There's not much to say really. It's a great budget movement that will definitely serve you for quite some years, and it's nice that you can look at it whenever you want. Also, there's a signed crown with Pagani Design's logo, finished well, and now we come to the dial, and right off the bat you can see that originality is not found. Let's just say that they took a lot of inspiration from Rolex design. Simple round indices, excluding the indices at 6 and 9, which are square, and the indice at 12, which is triangular. All of them look great. I couldn't really see any quality control issues. The polishing of the steel around them is executed perfectly. Same goes to the hands. Again, classic Mercedes hands, nothing new, but they are done well. No dust particles or anything like that. The dial is actually black sunburst, so you get some action in a proper lighting, as you can see. Then we have Pagani Design logo printed on top, Pagani Design just below that, and then Explorer because it comes from Explorer series. And then on the bottom we have automatic, water resistant, and 10 bar 100 meters. The print is crisp, although I would get rid of the word Explorer. It would look a lot cleaner in my opinion. Then what I also really dig about this watch is the chapter ring. It's almost bead blasted but also has some shine to it. I really like this finish, definitely adds to the looks. The grip of the bezel is substantial. On these budget watches, oftentimes the finishing on the bezel is not the best and the edges are sharp, but not on this one. It has a pleasant grip. Although the action of it is not the best, its 60-click unidirectional bezel turns nicely, but there's a lot of backplay. As you can see, it wobbles back and forth quite a bit. The insert itself is ceramic and has a lume pip, and also what really surprised me was the paint finishing on it. All of the numbers and other markers are recessed into the bezel, not just printed on top, and the painting is done perfectly. For example, my partner's also has a black ceramic bezel, but the quality of the paint job on it is not even near the Pagani Designs, even though they cost around the same, so I was really surprised about that. The Cyclops at 3 was a big surprise too, because oftentimes it also happens to be one of the weakest points on these Chinese timepieces, but on this one it's aligned quite well and the magnification is great. Also, since we talked about the lume pip, let's see the whole lume. As you can see, it's not the best, but for the price you can't really ask for much more. It doesn't last for a long time either. And now I can show you my new toy that I decided to buy finally, the diamond selector tool to test the watch crystals. On the selling page of this watch it says that it has a sapphire crystal, and as you can see that is completely true. The Cyclops is sapphire as well, which is great. Now the operation of this watch is really easy. You have to unscrew the crown, of course. It has 100 meters of water resistance as stated on the dial, which lets you swim and even do some snorkeling with it. When you unscrew the crown, you can manually wind the movement. Then if you pull it to the first position, you can set the day. And if you pull to the second position, as you can see, the seconds and hacks, and now you can set the time. When you are done, just push the crown back in and don't forget to screw it back in. And that is pretty much it about the watch. So there you go, here's the full review of this watch. Full stainless steel construction, solid end links, a sapphire crystal, 100 meters of water resistance, and a Seiko NH35 movement inside, all for $74. I definitely say yes to that. Of course there were some negatives that I showed you, but at this price point it's more than acceptable and I totally recommend this watch. I will leave the link in the description down below if you're interested, but as I've said, it's better to wait for some sale to come or use as many coupons as you can. And as always, if you have any sort of questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you like my video, please leave a like and also consider subscribing and hitting that little bell so you'll get notified when I upload a new video. And now thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.